Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Wednesday. We have made it halfway through the week. Welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is the Luke Boyd Show. I'm your host, Luke Boyd. As we're coming in to the middle of the week, we're going to be covering a lot of stuff today. We got a lot of games that happened last night, including LeBron James' debut in the 25 to 26 season for the NBA, including but not limited to covering a bunch of injuries across the board from multiple teams across the league from the NBA. We'll be looking into some previews for games that are going to be happening later tonight. Let's see, what else are we going to be covering? Potentially going to be covering some very early, what I think are very early MVP races and potential guys that are going to be making the All-Star list coming into February and All-Star weekend. Also, MVP races, injuries. What was the other thing that I was going to say? And also the very very early MVP race, All-Star break, and MVP race to this point for the NFL as well, along with possibly some potential chances of what other teams are going to potentially make playoffs and what potentially what Mike McDaniel's job case is going to look like at this point, mainly because we kind of made a prediction last week in terms of what his head coaching job is going to look like if they were to have lost to the Commanders. I still kind of think that his job's kind of on the line here over the next couple of weeks, but we'll kind of get into those details here in a little bit. Before we get into anything else, I would just like to once again say thank you to each and every single one of you guys for tuning in, wherever you may be tuning in from, whether that be either on Rumble or YouTube or if you're listening to the audio on Spotify or anything like that. Really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in and joining in. You guys are awesome. I'm taking a look at everything else here just to make sure that everything is still live, just because this is a multicast that's being broadcasted to a whole plethora of different platforms, and on top of that, going to try to I know I kind of said it last weekend, I wasn't able to do that, but this weekend we're going to make some changes that hopefully, if you guys are listening to podcasts and stuff like that, I'll be able to download the audio and send it to wherever you may be listening your podcasts from. That way it's hopefully encompassed everywhere. I know I've been kind of posting a bunch of stuff on mainly X and stuff like that as well, so if you're live on X, welcome. But for those of you that aren't on Rumble, or if you like the content for those of you that like the content that I'm doing, or if you like the content that I'm kind of spreading, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. Go down and hit the follow button as well, or for you on YouTube, hit that subscribe button as well. Really appreciate you guys. You guys are the support that you guys continue to give on a daily basis is really going to help keep the lights on for this show. Like I was kind of saying earlier this week, I will be out of the studio next week because of the Thanksgiving break. So I won't be able to do any streams next week or any shows next week, for that matter. So we'll get into a little bit of a debrief from all the games and stuff like that after the Thanksgiving break. So that Monday is going to be I think it's going to be a very hectic show, but hopefully we'll be able to cover as much as we can on that. But anyhow, so today, tomorrow, and Friday are going to be the last couple of shows before the Thanksgiving break. So I'll still be on the socials, so keep an eye on Instagram and mainly X and TikTok for the most part. Instagram not as much. I'm trying to stay off Instagram a little bit more than the other two, but anyhow, once again, really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. You guys are awesome. So, with that in mind, if you guys wouldn't mind, before we continue on any further with what we're going to be discussing today, if you guys wouldn't mind joining me in prayer real quick, that would be fantastic. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, I'd like to thank you once again for another beautiful day. It's pretty sunny outside today, which is really nice. I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity and giving everyone that is watching an opportunity to have another day to be a blessing to many and a hero to some, and help bless and guide each and every single one of us as we go throughout the rest of today and the rest of this week. Is there's kind of been I've been seeing that there's kind of a little bit of some discourse and some hostility across the states. Help that discord and conflict to come to a peaceful solution, and continue to guide each and every single one of us on the path to you, as to help that you bless and guide our thoughts and actions throughout the rest of this week as we pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'm just going to do something real quick, and I'll be right back. Hang on just one second. Uh-oh. Did my camera freeze? Whoa, stop. I'm not asking for a screen. No. Get out of here. What are you doing? What is that thing? What the heck? What the heck? I hit a screenshot button? Okay, I thought my camera froze. Okay, because it froze on my computer and not on... Not on the stream, okay. But that was a weird look with that green screen there. Interesting, okay. Anyhow. We're gonna transition. Alright, so let's get into the recap from some of the big key games coming out of last night. We got the Warriors and the Magic. Yeah, let's just kind of get into this a little bit, because from what I've seen, let me just kind of double check some of these things real quick. Nothing too crazy going on. Cool. And let's just hit that real quick. Okay. And all right. Okay. So I saw a little bit of the highlights, not all of it though, from what I remember. Not entirely a great game from the Warriors, as you can kind of see that they did not end up winning this game. I was not thrilled, obviously, because, you know, I didn't, Kaminga was out with tendonitis. That's not good. And Curry had himself a night again. But anyhow, it was just one of those, I mean, obviously I kind of projected, where did I predict that from yesterday? Where's my predictions? There we are. So this was one of the predictions that I ended up getting wrong yesterday. Warriors and the Magic. Obviously, I kind of thought that the Warriors were going to find a way to win, because especially with Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy, you know, with the way that I thought that they had been playing from last season coming into this season, they would still, you know, continue to find those sparks to try to finish out games and win games and stuff like that. Obviously, was not the case last night. Even without Paulo Banchero for the Magic, it was just a rough night for the Warriors. I mean, um, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry were the top two scorers for the Warriors. If we kind of break down the rest of the box score for both these players real quick, um, Steph Curry in the night after 34 minutes of play with 34 points, 3 boards, 9 assists, 3 steals, 12 of 23 from the field, 7 of 15 from behind the arc, and 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. So Curry had himself a pretty good night. He was 1 assist away from a double-double, so I mean, solid performance from him, of course. And then also Jimmy Butler as well. After 38 minutes of play, had 33 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 10 of 16 from the field, 13 of 15 from the charity stripe. So really, really good night from Jimmy. And then, I mean, Draymond had a pretty good night as well. Let's see, after 31 minutes of play, he had 12 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 5 of 8 from the field, and 3 of 5 from behind the arc. So, I mean, he was able to cash in on a couple of three-pointers, but at the end, it was not meant to be. I think I saw something pretty funny from that game as well last night. But anyhow, that all aside, I think the Warriors to start out, they just been a little bit, it's been a little bit inconsistent, I think, and not to say that they aren't good as a team. It's just with the way that they've been playing, and it kind of also shows in the their win-loss record to this point. I'm not saying the Orlando Magic is a bad team that they lost to. It's just one of those situations where you would think that with the stars on the team for the Warriors, you would think that they would be playing a lot better, and their record would kind of show for that as well. But with the 9-7 record that they have right now, it just has not been the case. And I'm kind of pulling for the Warriors a little bit, just because I kind of like Steph Curry a lot. Probably one of I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit of bias, but I think Steph Curry is probably one of the better players that have ever played the game of basketball. I'm not going to say he's top 5, but my personal opinion, he's definitely top 10 for sure. In terms of GOAT conversation, if you will, I would have to say Curry's definitely top 10 for sure. But it's just one of those situations where I just think they're just having a little bit more of a rough. I guess it was a little bit more of a rough start to the rough start in terms of not trying to or not being able to find wins, more or less. I mean, yes, they're over 500, but and still early in terms of where we're at in the season, but still one of those I wouldn't really say defining moments, but I would think that there's got to be something in terms of a spark for because there was a spark last week in terms of them being able to beat the Spurs 2 games in a row, where Curry just ended up popping off and scoring almost 50 points at least twice against the Spurs last week. But it's just been a little bit of like a up and down beginning to the season for the Warriors. So and then we kind of get into the Magic a little bit in terms of who was key contributors from last night from the Magic. You got your top scorer in Desmond Bane, who after 39 minutes of play had 23 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, 5 steals, 7 of 16 from the field, 2 of 6 from behind the arc, and 7 of 7 from the charity stripe. So Desmond Bane had himself a night, which is really good. Wendell Carter Jr., Also had himself a night after notching up a double-double after 35 minutes of play. Had 17 points, 12 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 5 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, and 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. So huge night from Carter Jr., um, especially since he knotted up that double-double. Um, let's see what else jumps out of the box score here. Franz Wagner had himself a night as well after 36 minutes of play with 18 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 7 of 17 from the field. Nothing from behind the arc, but was 4-4 from the charity stripe. So pretty big night from Franz Wagner as well. And then the top scorer coming off the bench for the Magic ended up being Anthony Black, who after 33 minutes of play had 21 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 8 of 13 from the field, and 5 of 7 for the charity stripe. So finding ways to score in Anthony Black, and I think he's a pretty good. He's making a good case for a potential sixth man for the Magic, if not potentially a sixth man of the year conversation, maybe. Obviously, super early, but and I don't think they even have all their starters for the Magic, but certainly does help with the entire starting crew in double figures for the Magic to help them get to this win. And you have like 2 guys from the Warriors who were not able to get into double figures, so I mean, not entirely big contributions, but or not entirely big contributing factors in terms of whether or not it was a win-loss here, but certainly significant enough to where the Warriors did not end up winning this game. Magic move up to 8-7. Warriors fall to 9-7. And I think both of these teams are in different conferences. Yes. So, I mean, this was an inter-conference matchup, but even still, trying to get a win early on in the season is going to be beneficial coming into the later stages of the season and looking towards playoffs. So Magic finding a win in this one is very beneficial to them, obviously. And 121 to 113, the final score in Orlando, as they ended up notching the win there. Moving on to another game that I kind of figured was going to be pretty close, but the Pistons stay red hot to this point, and I think they have found 11 straight wins after last night. Key contributors coming out of last night, you got your usual suspects in Cade Cunningham, who ended up notching up another double-double last night. After 34 minutes of play, had 25 points, 6 boards, 10 assists, 2 steals, 10 of 23 from the field, 1 of 7 from behind the arc, and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So not a huge night from behind the arc, but at least was able to find ways to contribute, especially notching up double-double in points and assists. So huge night from Cade Cunningham. I mean, kind of the usual suspects that we've been talking about from the Detroit Pistons as they continue to stay hot to start out the season. Just remarkable across the board. Because I mean, just think of it this way, right? Not to say that I didn't think that the Pistons were gonna be terrible coming into this season, but I figured since they had started to make some moves over the recent years, I would think that they would kind of have been in the middle of the pack. I was not expecting them to basically be at this point on an 11-game win streak, and I'm pretty sure, they're still atop the Eastern Conference. They're sitting atop of the Eastern Conference right now. So the Pistons are giving the Thunder a run for their money right now in terms of trying to stay at pace with the best record in the league, basically. And I don't think they have a game tonight, but the Thunder do. And, I mean, the Thunder are going to look to continue their win streak coming into later tonight. But again, the Pistons are trying to give the Thunder a run for their money in terms of the best record in the league right now. So, anyhow, is my stuff blurred? Is my stuff blurred, or is this like... It shouldn't be. Oh, it must have just been the feed. Anyhow, yeah, I kind of got distracted for a second. I was trying to make sure that everything was still good on that end. Okay, so everything's good. All right, so and then continuing on, another key contributor from last night from the Pistons ended up being Jalen Duren, who I don't really think we've been talking a lot about. But he ended up with, after 29 minutes of play, with 24 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 8 of 12 from the field, a native 11 from the charity stripe. So a big night from Duren, because he was able to find ways to get up into the cup and whatnot. And so, yeah, just a pretty big night from Duren. Didn't try to make any attempts from behind the arc, which I think that's fine. What the heck is happening to my... Oh, no, it's just that feed. It's just that feed, okay. Right? Because everything else should still be fine, right? Okay. Okay. You guys are seeing it well from your guys' end, right? I'm just double checking because it seems like some of the resolution is not great, but maybe that's just what I'm seeing from my end. Anyhow, and then you got Duncan Robinson and Dennis Jenkins also with very big nights as well. Not really going to go through their entire stat line, to be honest, but you also got Javonte Green and Chaz Lanier, who had big nights coming off the bench. Didn't go into double figures, but they at least found ways to contribute both behind the arc and from the field, and finding ways to contribute by grabbing some rebounds as well. And then from the Hawks, you got your top scorers being Jalen Johnson, who after 39 minutes of play had 25 points, 8 boards, 9 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 8 of 18 from the field, 3 of 8 from behind the arc, and 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. So big night from Jalen Johnson. You got a Kongwu who also had himself a night, and Alexander Walker as well. Alexander Walker, after 37 minutes of play, had 24 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. Nothing for the defensive stat line, but was 9 of 20 from the field, which is kind of ugly. But 5 of 6 from the charity stripe is a pretty huge contribution there. So even though his accuracy across the board outside of free throws wasn't entirely great, he was able to find a way to get to the line and just, knock down basically as much as he could outside of one shot. So just had one miss there. And then Okongwu, getting through the rest of his stat line after 34 minutes of play, had 21 points, 1 board, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 8 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc, and 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So huge contribution night from Okongwu. And then top scorer coming off the bench from the Hawks ended up being Muhammad Gueye. Is that how you say his last name? I mean, he ended up with a double-double, looks like, after 21 minutes of play with 11 points, 11 boards, 1 assist, and 1 block. As the Hawks ended up falling short here. Let's see. Hawks fall to 9-6. Detroit Pistons continue their win streak, and their win streak's now at 11. 13-2 is their record to this point of the season. 120-112 is the final in Atlanta. And Detroit did not really outscore the Hawks in the second half, but the first half score ended up being 65-54, and that was kind of the key difference going the rest of the way, just because the second half points, end of the third quarter, was separated only by 1 point in terms of point differential between both the teams. and then fourth quarter only separated by 4, so not enough to not enough for the Hawks to come back to keep this game any closer than 8 points, as 120-112 is the final score in Atlanta, and the Pistons notch up another win in their 13th of the season. So moving on to another game, because this game's gonna be a little bit important, mainly because I kind of thought that with Wemby being out, that the Spurs were gonna kind of fall a little bit, and maybe it didn't happen tonight because it was the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies don't have John Morant, but I mean, that's just basketball, I guess. I mean, some of the stars are going to get injured, some of the stars are going to stay healthy, and it's whoever is going to, play well and play hard continuing throughout the season is who's going to continue to stay atop of the league. And it looks like the Spurs continued to play well without Wemby. And it looks like as far as I'm aware, he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks from what I saw on X. Because as of 2 days ago, I mean, we kind of discussed this a little bit yesterday, I think, because I think I discussed that in our preview. But once again, I was wrong with the prediction guess on this one. This was the second one that I guessed wrong in terms of prediction. But let's kind of look at some of the top scorers here, because it looks like we have a double-double from Cedric Coward, after 26 minutes of play had 19 points, 11 boards, 1 assist. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 7 of 15 from the field, 5 of 7 from behind the arc. So pretty solid night from Coward, as he ended up notching up a double-double there. Let's see, Jaren Jackson Jr. also had himself a night as well after 33 minutes of play with 18 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. 8 of 20 from the field and 2 of 7 from behind the arc, so pretty solid night from him as well. Let's see. Zach Edey is back in the lineup for the Grizzlies and was back last night. So pretty solid performance from him. Even though he didn't notch up a double-double, he was one shot shy of notching up a double-double. He had 8 points, 11 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and that was also after 25 minutes of being on the court. It was 4-10 from the field, so if he had just been a little bit more accurate inside the arc or just on his shots in general, he would have had that double-double pretty easily. But just didn't just wasn't the case for Zach Edey last night. Top scorer coming off the bench from the Grizzlies ended up being Cam Spencer after 24 minutes of play at 15 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but 6 of 10 from the field and 3 of 7 from behind the arc. So a solid night from him. Not really much else to speak of from Spencer, but and the Grizzlies, but I mean, still solid contributions across the board. Not all the starters in double figures, but they were close enough to where it was where they kept this game pretty close, not super close to where it was not much of a runaway game, but at least it was close enough to where it could have been a potential. Well, there's a bunch of woulda, coulda, shouldas in this game now. So, excuse me. But anyhow, moving into some of the top scorers from the San Antonio Spurs as they ended up notching up the win here. You got De'Aaron Fox, who after 33 minutes of play had 26 points, 1 board, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So stat lines across the board from him. 10 of 20 from the field, 3 of 8 from behind the arc, and 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. So huge night from De'Aaron Fox. As he almost ended up dropping a 30 piece. Any higher in terms of the accuracy, he would have been on a 30 piece and maybe even higher than that. I mean, even if he was just a little bit better in the accuracy in the 3-point range, he could have notched up a 40 piece. But anyhow, um, um, but yeah, still a solid night from him nonetheless. Even though his accuracy was not entirely great. Also, a big night from Harrison Barnes, who after 32 minutes of play had 23 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 9 of 14 from the field, 4 of 8 from behind the arc, and 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So Harrison Barnes had himself a day as well. And then top scorer coming off the bench for the Spurs ended up being Keldon Johnson. After 30 minutes of play, had 18 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 8 of 15 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So, still a pretty solid night from Keldon. Same with Kelly Olynyk as well, who ended up notching up double figures. I wonder if Cornette might have gotten injured, because I don't know why. I wonder if Cornette must have gotten injured. He must have gotten injured, right? There's no way he only takes 1 shot. Okay, I'm sorry. There's no way. There's no way he only takes 1 shot in 25 minutes. Like, what? How are you a starter and only take 1 shot in 25 minutes? I mean, I get it. You contribute in other ways, but like, what are we talking about here? Like, I mean, I get it. Your team also won, but what am I seeing here? What am I missing? Am I missing that he just was continuing to pass? I mean, he ended up getting 3 assists, but I don't know. He didn't even have a ton of turnovers either. Was he just not getting the ball that much? Like, like what? What are you doing as a starter and not scoring? Like what? Like what are we doing here? But anyhow, I mean, granted, he only took like 1 shot, but even still, that's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little weird about it. Anyhow, or being a little too skeptical. But who knows? But yeah, Spurs end up moving up to 10-4. Grizzlies fall to 4-11. I think we talked a little bit yesterday about top 5 and bottom 5, but I mean, for the Grizzlies, this just hasn't been a great stretch in the early going. Especially since their record is kind of showing for it as well. Not to say that any of the teams that they won against are bad or they caught them on a bad night or whatever, but I mean, it's still early, so we'll see what happens. But right now, not looking too good for the Grizzlies to start out the season this way. But and I guess even with Wemby out, it was no problem for the Spurs. So they're still holding a pretty good spot right now, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they're in prime position right now, even with 4 losses, to potentially be making playoffs. I know we're kind of way, way early in terms of talking about playoffs, but yeah, look to the. I'm kind of hedging my bets that the Spurs are going to continue that streak moving forward in terms of looking for potential playoff berths, especially for the Spurs. So, yeah, once again, that was another one that I ended up getting wrong last night in terms of predictions. Ended up getting the Lakers correct and the Suns correct, along with the Celtics beating the Brooklyn Nets last night as well. I'm not really going to cover those games that much because as far as I last checked the scores on those, it was kind of very lopsided in favor of the teams that ended up winning those games. So, not that, well, okay, let me actually just discuss a little bit about the Lakers because Obviously, big news coming into tonight in terms of a couple of different highlights to start out. This is LeBron. This was LeBron James' debut, and he ended up making his first shots of his 23rd season being in the NBA. Um, Passed up Vince Carter in terms of how many season in terms of what was the stat line that they were talking about? Most seasons played by an NBA player or something like that. I think I could be completely wrong about that stat line, but um, no, that sounds right. Because he's been in the league for 23 seasons now, which is the most by any NBA player. Um, and I don't know. I don't even. Um, he notched up a double double last night. We'll get into the rest of the stat line from the entire group of the Lakers, which I mean, even without him playing up until this point, he was not playing the first 14 games with a back injury, but even still, even without him in the lineup, they were still ended up winning games without him. Because Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, like we kind of covered from the beginning of the season, was playing lights out. Excuse me for the Lakers. So I mean, it's not um, it's not unheard of that they were potentially going to win this game. And I mean, in terms of the early going, with the way that the Lakers were playing without LeBron and the way that they played last night with LeBron, I I was listening to something a little bit earlier, and I think that the Lakers, even with LeBron, yes, they're probably going to make the Western Conference Finals, and to I don't know. It's a tough sell right now to really make any bold predictions. So I'm not really gonna do that right now with the Lakers, especially um, if if there's any shot for the Lakers right now. Um, I mean, they're probably going to win their next couple of games depending on what their schedule looks like. Because obviously, if they end up facing the Thunder at any point in the next couple of games, they're just going to have a tough out against them. Um, but we'll see. But anyhow, just kind of breaking down the rest of the stat line here. Um, from let's cover the Lakers here because we've already been covering them already. You got three guys that ended up notching up double doubles last night. You got your top scorer and the usual suspect of the Lakers team being Luka Doncic, who after 34 minutes of play had 37 points, 5 boards, 10 assists, 4 steals, 11 of 22 from the field, 2 of 10 from behind the arc. So not a great night from three-point land for Luka, but was 13 of 16 from the charity stripe. So he ended up finding ways to score. Even though he wasn't doing too well from behind the arc, which I mean, it's he's gonna have those nights. I mean, even after 37 points, like it's just one of those things where I'm not gonna say he could have had 40 or 50 or whatever, but I mean, it's just one of those things where he, even though it wasn't good from behind the arc, he still found ways to try to make it so that he's still, I think he's still in prime position now. Um, Him and the next guy we'll talk about here in a second, but I think Luka and the next guy we talk about here is going to be in prime position and are prime candidates to, you know, be a part of the potential MVP conversation. Even though it's still early, I would be willing to bet you these two guys are going to be talked about for a very long time throughout this season. Um, I mean, Austin Reeves, as we kind of get into his stat line, he's also making a case for himself as well. Even though he didn't score as many points as Luka last night, he still is finding ways to do basically the same thing that Luka was doing last night, because he didn't score very well from behind the arc as we kind of get through the rest of his stat line. After 33 minutes of play, had 26 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 7 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, and 11 of 12 from the charity stripe. So just a big night all the way around for the Lakers. DeAndre Ayton and LeBron James also knotted up some double-doubles here. DeAndre Ayton, after 30 minutes of play, had 20 points, 14 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 10 of 13 from the field, and did not make a shot from the charity stripe, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure if he works on that just even a little bit, that stuff's going to be 100% the next couple of games. Not to really, kind of discredit what he does and whatnot, because, DeAndre Ayton was really good for the Suns, and I think is going to be pretty good as a Laker as well. Just, I don't know. And then we kind of get into LeBron James' stat line from last night as he debuted yesterday, in terms of having another accolade being added to his plethora of accolades that he already has, as four-time NBA champ. I think he's first in total points, first in total boards. There's a couple of other stat lines that I know I'm blanking on right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna. What other accolades does he have? I need help. I need help. What are the rest of his stat lines? I need to. Not the rest of his stat line, but accolades. Four-time NBA champ. He's got a couple of MVPs. He's got a couple of Finals MVPs as well. I want to say there's a Defensive Player of the Year in there somewhere. Couple of other accolades there as well, but anyhow, his stat line from last night after 30 minutes of play ended up with 11 points, 3 boards, 12 assists, 1 steal, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, and 1 of 4 from the charity stripe. So even though he didn't really score a ton from the charity stripe, which I don't think he really needed to anyway, he ended up finding ways to find guys open and find guys to score. So just a big night all around for the Lakers. Top scorer coming off the bench for the Lakers ended up being Jake LaRavia, who after 26 minutes of play had 16 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 6 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, and 2 of 3 from the charity stripe. So huge night in LeBron James' debut as a Laker at home. And then we kind of look at the Jazz, who ended up, finding ways to contribute and try to keep this game close, even though the Lakers just dominated across the board in terms of not only guys getting into double figures, but guys that had double-doubles, and hard to really stop a Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves showdown, basically, outside of LeBron. I mean, that trio is going to be kind of crazy to mess with the entire season. I mean, especially now that LeBron's in the lineup, it's going to be I'm not gonna say smooth sailing, because they might have some hiccups along the way, but it's going to be it's basically the Thunder and the Lakers are going to be the two teams that, if you have both of those teams, especially the Pistons actually, if you have any of those three teams in your upcoming schedule for the next couple of weeks especially, those are going to be some tough matchups in this early going for these teams. So and we kind of take a look at as we kind of break down the rest of the stat line for the Jazz here. You got Keontae George, who was the top scorer for the Jazz. After 35 minutes of play, had 34 points, 4 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, 13 of 23 from the field, 5 of 13 from behind the arc, and 3 of 3 from the charity stripe. So huge night from Keontae. And then Laurie Markkinen, who we've been talking about a lot already to start the season, and I think is making a very strong case for himself in terms of, if not an MVP, um, definitely an All Star for sure. I mean, probably not MVP just because of the way that the Jazz have been looking record wise anyway, and obviously still very very early to call really any huge MVP candidates right now, and we'll kind of discuss a little bit in terms of who I think is really, kind of at the top for the moment, um, which is going to kind of be really hard to say. But again, once we get into December and stuff like that, and once those bets start, or once the All Star voting starts to open up, we're going to start to evaluate um, every single player as a whole, just beyond the stat line, but also the records of the team and stuff like that, and how well the team has been playing based off of these players and stuff like that. But getting into the rest of the breakdown here, after 32 minutes of play, Markkinen had 31 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 12 of 21 from the field, 3 of 9 from behind the arc, and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So huge night from Markkinen as well. Not a really key guy coming off the bench, but the entire starting lineup for the Jazz ended up in double figures. So, um, pretty solid performance from the Jazz, even though they did not end up winning against the Lakers. I think the Jazz. This is gonna be. I mean, even though they lost, I think there's a lot of positives for the Jazz to look at coming out of this game, especially since you had a guy in Yusuf Nurkic who, after 29 minutes of play, had 10 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 4 or 5 from the field, and 2 from the charity stripe. So Yusuf Nurkic had a double double, and I mean, especially with all of your guys in the starting lineup for the Jazz being in double figures, you gotta kind of look at this in terms of the Jazz perspective, even though they haven't been winning a ton of games in the early going. You kind of have to look at this as okay, we were able to score 126 points against a team that just added back another, I guess, superstar, if you will, in LeBron James. And even though this wasn't entirely close, I think 14 points separated both the teams in this game. I think the Jazz can look at this game and be like, okay, there are certain teams that if we look at the rest of, as we look ahead in terms of their schedule here, um, coming into the rest of the week and heading into December, I mean, they got a tough matchup against the Thunder come Friday. Then they got the Lakers again next week. So I mean, they got a little tough stretch, um, tough stretch in these next couple of games. But I think once they get past the Warriors on Monday, they got a little bit of a stretch where I think they can kind of rebound a little bit in terms of finding ways to win. Especially since they got the Sacramento Kings after they go into Golden State. They got a little bit of a homestand versus Sacramento, and then Houston twice, and then they'll go into Brooklyn to face the Brooklyn Nets, and then in Madison Square Garden to face the New York Knicks. So um, once they get past Thunder, Lakers, and Golden State, I mean, obviously the Thunder and the Lakers are going to be really tough matchups. Going to be very hard for the Jazz to come into those games and try to win, especially. Um, but I think there's a lot of key. Um, I think there's a lot of key moments in that game where they can take a look at it, be like, okay, here's some positives here. Um, Try to bounce back from that, especially since I think today and tomorrow they have off in terms of not having any games. So they have a little bit of time to try to like regroup, if you will, and then they got a little bit of a tough stretch from there where they got the Thunder and then the Lakers and the Warriors. Not to say that they can't beat any of those teams, but it's going to be really, really tough for them um, to try to win, especially since there's still a ton of key stars from all three of those teams that are going to be in. And not to say that they can't be the Warriors either, because the Warriors have just been having a rough go um, to start the season as well. But um, honestly, it's anyone's game at this point, and I think the Jazz can really, even though they're 5-9 to this point, and they fall into 5-9 after last night's game, but I think they have the stars across the board to really compete against teams like the Lakers and the Thunder and the Warriors, even though their record um, doesn't really show it right now. Because I mean, yes, they're right in the mix in terms of playoffs as of right now, even though it's very early. But I think throughout the rest of the season, watch the Jazz because I think they have found I think they found the group that's going to be, able to compete with pretty much anybody in the entire league, even though their record is kind of, you know, uh, I guess for lack of better words, subpar. Um, so, um, 140 to 126, the final score in LA. Lakers move up to 11-4. And then I kind of already said this a little bit earlier, but the Jazz ended up falling to 5-9 from last night. Um, and with that, we're going to kind of break down the rest of the lineups or the rest of the games coming into today. Um, we got ourselves a pretty good. I think we got ourselves a pretty good lineup here. Um, if we kind of look into some key games, obviously, you got the Rockets coming into Cleveland, which I want to say this one's pretty much a toss up between both of these teams. It was kind of hard to make the predictions a little bit earlier today. When did I post this? 3 hours ago? Yeah, so I posted that earlier today. Um, I don't I don't entirely know what the injury status is for both those teams. I didn't really look at it. Same with the matchup predictor. And I didn't really do that with any of these. That's just been going based off of how well these teams have been playing and they're really going. Um, Obviously, with the Rockets and Cleveland playing very, very well, I think this one's going to stay very close all the way through. And don't get it twisted, both these teams are going to play very well. Depending on who the stars are going to be out for both of these teams, um, who who knows how well that's going to actually play out if the stars can't play for either of these teams. Um, but again, especially since it's going to be on television or whatever in terms of ESPN, it's probably one you don't want to miss. So, even though it's early in the season, don't get it twisted. Like, both of these teams are going to try to find a way to win, obviously. Um, but, um, yeah, just keep an eye on Cleveland because, I mean, they're not, I'm not going to say hot, but they're definitely um, wanting to look for that spark to try to get another win streak going, I think. Especially since they're going to have it start out in Cleveland, I think, later tonight in terms of what I'm doing prediction wise here. Um, Sticking with the pick here. Maybe I'll look into the injuries here in a little bit, but we'll kind of break down the injuries after we kind of work through the rest of this year. Another game that's also tipping off at the same time as the first game that I was talking about. You got the Pacers hosting the Charlotte Hornets and the Sixers hosting the Toronto Raptors, with the Hornets going into the Pacers. Um, I'm sorry to say this, but Pacers fans, I really don't know what to say to you guys right now because it's been a tough stretch for you guys the entire start of the season. I mean, you've only found a way to win one game to this point, as far as I recall, and I don't think that streak in terms of winning is going to start anytime soon. Um, Unless there's a spark that comes from somewhere, because right now you're going to be playing against a Hornets team that has been, I think, a little bit. Let's see. You got LaMelo Ball. You got a couple of other players that I know I'm blanking off the top of my head, and I know that we've covered this probably a couple different times because the Hornets have played key teams that they've had close losses against, but even still, it's just been a rough go for the Pacers. There's not really much of a choice that I can really do here other than just say I think the Hornets are going to win this game in Indiana. So, really, once again, really tough to really say how well this is going to pan out for the Pacers, but if if the record is kind of showing what's going to happen tonight, it's going to probably continue in the same direction, with the Pacers losing another game, and possibly losing their ninth straight, and especially since the Hornets, they're not entirely a hot team to this point, but they're definitely one of those teams you can't be really complacent against, because they'll find ways to win against you. Even though they've only found 4 wins so far this season, this might be number 5 for them coming into tonight, so we'll see. But also, tipping off at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, you got the Sixers hosting the Toronto Raptors. Sixers have been hot coming into this season, and Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe are both solid players for the Sixers, if not great players for the Sixers. I would be willing to bet you that both of them are probably going to be making all-star appearances come in February. I don't even know if Joel Embiid is in or not, but regardless, I think both of the young stars for the Sixers are going to be playing well tonight. Just look to the Sixers to absolutely crush the Raptors here. And then you got Golden State, and going into Miami, and Washington heading into Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit biased and think the Warriors are going to be in a little bit of a slump these next couple of games here, but don't underestimate the Miami Heat and who they have in and who they don't have in, especially if their stars are out, because Miami's going to be fighting the entire way through. So look to this game, that even though it isn't going to be on any mainstream television networks, it's still going to be a close game all the way through. I think if you have the NBA app, you should be able to see this game, regardless on what device that you have, or at least I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but hopefully that I'm hoping that's correct. I'm pretty sure that that's correct. But anyhow, this one's one to watch for sure. And then you got the Wizards hosting the the Timberwolves hosting the Wizards. Wizards have not been playing too well in the early going. Timberwolves have just been, pretty decent with or without Anthony Edwards. So I think especially since Anthony Edwards is back in the lineup for the Timberwolves, I think we'll get into the injuries here in a moment. Even without Anthony Edwards in the lineup, I think the Timberwolves have the players around Edwards to where it's not going to be a huge loss to the Wolves if Anthony Edwards isn't in. I'm pretty sure he's back in tonight. But anyhow, I think I think Timberwolves are going to win that game. And then obviously Denver Nuggets going into New Orleans to face the Pelicans. Denver has been hot outside of 2 nights ago. I think the Pelicans are still going to be without Zion Williamson. And even if they had Zion Williamson, I don't think the Pelicans have been playing well enough with or without him to make my choice in terms of this game change at all. So give me Denver to win against New Orleans. If anything, it's probably going to be based off of certain guys not being able to play for the Nuggets, um, or just or just a bad night for the Nuggets in general. Um, I know I kind of was a little bit harsh in my criticism on them a little bit yesterday. I think, but I don't really, I don't apologize for it because just looking at the highlights, I'm just kind of taking everything at face value from what I've been seeing. So, um, I mean, I don't know where I'm getting really harsh criticism for them from, but anyhow. Um, and then also tipping off in the same window with the Pelicans and the Timberwolves hosting. You got the Thunder hosting the Kings. Um, yeah, it. This is kind of self-exclamatory. Thunder have been hot. I think their hot streak is going to continue. They've only had one loss to this point of the season, and I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to lose against a Sacramento Kings team that have a ton of vets in their lineup, but not very um, I would say not very high caliber stars as vets on the Kings to this point. Do I think Russell Westbrook is going to play his butt off again like he has in every single game for the Kings so far? Yes, absolutely. But do I think it's going to be enough to beat the Thunder? Absolutely not. And I don't expect any games that the Thunder are playing to be a loss by any stretch of the imagination for the rest of the season to this point. Um, it's I'd be very hard pressed as to why they would end up losing. It would probably be against a team like either the Nuggets or the Lakers, or any strong team from the East like either the Knicks or the Pistons or maybe even Cleveland. But even outside of any of those, I wouldn't expect them to lose to really any um, team that is basically on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Um, and one of them is the King. One of them just happens to be the Kings as well. So, uh, anyhow, let's see. And then in the later windows, in the second doubleheader, you got the Knicks going into Dallas. Um, the Dallas Mavericks. Um, what can I really say about the Mavericks outside of the fact that they found a way to get themselves out of the bottom five, but even still, um, I don't really know that they have enough players that aren't injured. Which there's an interesting situation with the Dallas Mavericks where Kyrie Irving, I think, has found a way to, um, even though he's still nursing an injury. Apparently, I saw something to where he's like he can be back in the lineup or something like that if it was playoffs, but for some reason he's not um, putting himself back into the lineup. And I think I reposted something and basically questioned it as to like, okay, if it was playoffs and you're able to play, then why why are you not playing for the Mavericks, right? Like, I mean, the Mavericks are they're just in the gutters right now. Not full, well, I mean, not fully in the gutters, I should say, but they're definitely not in a position to really be doing anything. Obviously, it's still early, but like, I mean, him coming back to play for the Mavericks could be the boost that the Mavericks need to try to get a winning streak going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying Kyrie Irving is the end all be all for the Dallas Mavericks right now. I mean, especially with I think it's Anthony Davis and a couple other um, key players for the Dallas Mavericks out as well. But I mean, who knows what could be the spark for the Dallas Mavericks at this point? But a spark's got to come from somewhere. And if you're one of the stars from the Dallas Mavericks right now, especially in Kyrie Irving, like you could potentially sway, like, I mean, especially against a tough matchup tonight against the New York Knicks. Like, you playing in this game could help boost the Mavericks in terms of whether or not they win or lose this game tonight. But without you in the lineup and without a couple of other players that are also injured as well. I mean, there's not really much I can really say about the Dallas Mavericks, especially since I think they're doing Cooper Flag not really any justice by having him basically face up against a really stacked lineup in the New York Knicks. Like, I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Like, and I get it, it's still early in the season, but I mean, it's, I don't know, just the way that NBA players these days kind of do things is just a little bit weird and odd. But anyhow, with all that is being said and done, I think even regardless of it, I think the Knicks are still going to win this game tonight. But I think the Mavericks just need to find a spark from somewhere to get going, because right now they just haven't found that spark to really win a ton of games in a row, and it shows in their record. I mean, they're 4 and I believe it's 11. That's not it. That's it right there. Yeah, 4 and 11. Same with the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, like their record is the same as the Memphis Grizzlies, which, I mean, not to say that the Memphis Grizzlies are supposed to be worse than the Dallas Mavericks, but I mean, come on. What are we what are we doing here? Anyhow, and then the final game to tip off later tonight, you got the Chicago Bulls going into Portland. Not to put any shade on Portland, I think they got a solid squad coming into this season, and they've been playing a little bit higher than I had expected in terms of how many games that they would be winning and whatnot. But I think the Chicago Bulls have found a little bit more of a spark to try to get another win streak going for them after they had hit a little bit of a slump. Offensively, I mean, granted, they had a couple of different injuries that kind of affected why they ended up going on a 5-game losing streak, but I think they found that spark again, and I think they're going to have another nice little win streak coming into December, I think. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I haven't even totally looked at their schedule yet, but I'd be willing to bet you that that's gonna be what happens here. I think for the Bulls, we'll just kind of take a look here at their schedule here. Yeah, because they got Portland and they got a tough matchup against Miami, and they got a little. Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna have a nice little stretch of couple of wins here. Especially since they got the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Hornets, the Pacers, and then Magic, and then Brooklyn, and then Pacers again, and then they'll have a little bit of a tougher stretch after the Pacers a second time. But even still, I think they're going to find themselves in a little bit of another good win streak, I think, moving forward here, and getting into the early stages of December, I think. So, yeah, that's the last game that's going to tip off later tonight in Portland. And that game's going to tip off at 7 o'clock PST, and I would say 10 p.m. EST, depending on where your time zone is. That's roughly where it's going to happen. But yeah, so far in terms of picks for the regular season, from what I've been predicting, 130 to 71 is my win to loss record at this point. And yeah, I've had a couple of perfect days actually, so pretty stoked about that. Let me just kind of get into the injuries coming into tonight. What are our key stuff here? So we got Jalen. Let's see. Alrighty. So it looks like Trae Young is still out. Let's see. So we got a couple of new updates here. Looks like Nafali Dante got moved down to the G League's College Park Skyhawks. Razacher has been ruled out for today's game against the Pistons with a hip injury. Porzingis is out for tonight's game with a knee injury, or maybe that was yesterday. No, that was yesterday. We already kind of talked about Nadia. Jason Tatum's still out for the Celtics, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season there. From yesterday, you got Saraf. Looks like he'll be sidelined 10 days with an ankle injury, but has been recalled from the G League's Long Island Nets, apparently. Star and Cam Thomas is still going to be out. Looks like his return is going to be December 18th. You got the Hornets, who... let's see. McNeely's out with an illness. Trey Mann's out with doubtful for tonight against Indiana with an ankle injury. I still think that they're going to find a way to win, though. No other updates there from the Hornets, though. You got Jalen Smith listed at probable for tonight's game against the Pacers with a right pectoralis strain. I think that's how you say that. And then you got Zach Collins out with a wrist injury for tonight. And then Trey Jones questionable tonight with an ankle injury. For the injuries for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you got Sam Merrill questionable tonight with a hand injury. You got Jalen Thompson out tonight with a concussion. Darius Garland out with a toe injury. Dallas Mavericks, you got oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You trade away your star player, and this is what you get. Even though you freaking pull a dumb lottery thing out of the freaking hat. That's the best way I can flip and pull that. You got Cooper Flag and Caleb Martin out with illnesses, or questionable tonight with illnesses. And you got Derek Lively probable tonight with a knee injury. Daniel Gafford out with an ankle injury, or probable tonight, excuse me. And then Dante Exum and Anthony Davis, we kind of already covered it. Let me see if I can find this post that I was talking to you guys about earlier, because I want to say I reposted something. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Come on. I know it was in my feed somewhere. Where is it? Did I repost it yesterday? Is that why I'm not seeing it? Where is it? I thought it was last night. That's why I was like, what the hell? Did it not repost? Oh, I must have reposted it on my other... Oh my gosh. I hate it when I do that. No, wait a minute. Hold up. Hey, get... Oh my word, why'd you go all the way down there, stupid? Where is it? No. Well, for some reason I can't find it because... Oh. Well, I mean, here's at least some of it. But... reportedly... excuse me. According to NBA Central, in terms of a post by NBA Central, Kyrie Irving is reportedly making great progress on the court, but his return this season is in question because of other reasons. What are those other reasons? Like, I don't I don't understand. Like, is he holding out on the Mavericks right now? Like, what's the issue? I don't I don't I don't understand why this is a thing. You know what I mean? Like, if he's making great progress and if he has the potential to actually play in these games, regardless of if it's playoffs or not, why is he not playing? You know what I mean? Mavericks were 4-11. They're worse than they were last year to this point. If I'm gonna be honest with you, like, it's just, I mean, it's not looking good for the Dallas Mavericks again tonight, especially since they're going up against a Knicks team that, as far as I'm aware, is still pretty dang healthy to this point. I mean, if we kind of look down the rest of the different teams here in terms of injuries and stuff like that, you got Aaron Gordon on day to day, questionable tonight with a bilateral hamstring injury management. Um, Anything new from the Pistons? We got LeVert ankle injury was out yesterday. Tobias Harris was also out yesterday with an ankle injury. Um, Apparently, Jaden Ivey was assigned to G League's Motor City Cruise. I don't know why that needs to be reported in the injury tab, but okay. And then for the Warriors, um, questionable for tonight's game against the Heat with an illness is Draymond Green. Jimmy Butler not expected to play tonight with a back injury. Buddy Hield is questionable tonight with a illness, and then Jonathan Kuminga ruled out for tonight with a knee injury. Al Horford, I guess, is getting rest, and Stephen Curry is out tonight with an ankle injury. Got it. I'm guessing that means that my prediction is going to be correct. Yep. And there's nothing I can really say or do about it at this point because I'm not going to change it, and nor would I, because, I mean, that's kind of your big key stars for Golden State, all potentially going to be out for tonight against the Heat. And honestly, could have been a really good test for the Warriors against the Heat, but I guess a lot of them are a little too injured to play, I guess. And then you got the Rockets in terms of who they got injured. Looks like Jabari Smith Jr. is questionable tonight with a knee injury. A lot of injuries for the Pacers tonight. You got Quentin Jackson with a hamstring injury that is out tonight. You got Johnny Furphy out with an ankle injury. Aaron Nesmith, we already talked about him, so no real updates there. No real updates from the Clippers because we already talked about Bradley Beal's main injury there. I guess we got Ty Jerome and John Morant. John Morant at least 2 weeks with a right calf strain. Ty Jerome out tonight, or was out last night with a calf injury. So, and then other than that, no other real updates there. Nikola Jovic, doubtful tonight against the Warriors with a hip injury. Bam Adebayo still looks like questionable tonight against the Warriors with a toe injury. No real news from Tyler Hero or Terry Rozier. For the Bucks, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who sustained a low grade left groin strain and will miss a few weeks. So Going to be a tough stretch for the Bucks offensively and defensively. For the Timberwolves, you got Jaden McDaniels out tonight with a wrist injury. And we'll just kind of Thunder have a bunch of different injuries as well, but yeah, I think that's kind of all that we really need to cover here. I think, because I don't know. I think I'm just kind of talking out of my butt at this point. But anyhow, that's kind of it for injuries and preview for tonight's games. And kind of moving on, but before we move on, really appreciate every single one of you guys for taking a second to stop in and tune in and watch. So you guys are awesome. Really appreciate every single one of you guys for supporting. And if you guys like what I'm doing and like the content that I'm giving you guys, don't hesitate to head down and hit those like buttons or hit the follow button or subscribe if you're on YouTube. Once again, this is a multicast that's being casted out to all your favorite streaming platforms, almost every single audio platforms in terms of podcasts. I would say the only main one right now is Spotify right now in terms of audio, but soon, fingers crossed, soon to be every single place that you get your podcast from. So hopefully we can get that going here soon. Hopefully we can get the TikTok live to go as well. Same with possibly a couple other ones. I was trying Instagram, but for some reason Instagram is being a little finicky right now. So the socials are almost all live. X, I think, is the only one that I'm live on right now. But outside of that, in terms of where the multicast is being streamed from, it's pretty much every single platform that you know and love. So really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. And we'll just kind of move on here into MVP race for the NFL right now. And it looks like with the win last week against the Seattle Seahawks, Matthew Stafford moves himself into the number one spot and being the favorite, which I don't really blame at all. He had a way better game over the weekend than Sam Darnold did, especially since you really can't really compare the stat line because Stafford didn't throw 4 picks and Sam Darnold did. So that's, just a huge factor right there, especially since it was a key matchup between two interdivision rivals, if you will. Just big numbers from Matthew Stafford. And yeah, that last game just basically bumped Sam Darnold out of the MVP race. Not to say that I think he's completely out of it, but he's definitely not in any close shape to really try to win at all. Really, the only running back in this conversation right now is Jonathan Taylor. I think even with the bye week, he didn't really move down all that much. Let's see. Yeah, because they had a bye last week, didn't they? I think that's right. So then they end up coming into this week playing against the Steelers. Or no, they played the Chiefs this weekend. Ooh, they could really ruin the Chiefs season by I think I'm a little bit too hyped going into this weekend. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? I'm a little bit hyped to see what happens this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a very good. Where did I see? I think I saw it on X somewhere. Oh, is it NFL on? Hold on one second. Let me go to the search real quick. No. NFL on Fox, I think is what it is. Yeah. Where's the week? Where's the week 12? I know I saw it. Power rankings. They moved Seattle down to 6. Okay, I can't really complain about where they have the teams at right now. That's a good look right there. Where is that week 12? Where is that week 12? I know I saw it. Oh, it's right here. Let's go. Okay, so you got the Commanders, Broncos, Chargers, and Dolphins all in buys this week. So, and you got America's game of the week being the Eagles and the Cowboys. That's going to be a solid matchup for sure. Seattle plays against the Titans, so that's not going to be one to really watch. Buffalo against Houston, I think really the only thing to watch there is to see whether or not Josh Allen ends up playing at a very high level or not, because I think Buffalo should soundly win that game. It's just going to be a matter of, because especially since they don't have CJ, excuse me, since they don't have CJ Stroud in the lineup at quarterback for the Texans, this one's going to be a very, very key matchup for the Bills to make sure that they win, because odds are definitely in their favor for sure. Got an interdivision matchup, it looks like, between Green Bay and the Vikings, so that's going to be a good one to watch as well. Going to be a lot of interesting games down the stretch here. Colts against the Chiefs, that should be a very good matchup. Even though they're not interdivision, it's still interconference and could dictate whether or not either one of these teams can make a wild card spot. So, very, very interesting and intriguing to see what happens there. Let's see. Not really caring for bottom teams. The Bears and the Steelers might actually be a good game to watch too. Saints and Falcons, not really that much. I would say probably Tampa Bay and the Rams might be one to watch as well. I believe that's the Sunday night football, yes. Patriots and the Bengals, that's not really going to be one, because I think the Patriots are just going to soundly beat the Bengals regardless of who they have at quarterback, because even if Joe Burrow comes back, I don't think that's going to be enough to really pull the cat out of the bag, if you will, in terms of making it so that it's a guaranteed victory for the Bengals there. They just have not been playing well to this point of the season, in my personal opinion. It's just has not been a good season for the Bengals as a whole. And I think that's gonna do it for good games coming out of this weekend. I'm kind of stoked though, or stoked for this weekend in terms of. I know I'm already kind of looking into this, but I'm already taking a look at this, and I already have a little bit of a few hints as to what my score predictions are going to be. But we'll have to take a look at this a little bit later, because oh man, these matchups for this weekend. Some of them are bad for sure, but there's a lot of good ones this weekend as well. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Because, I'm sorry, but to you Dallas Cowboys fans, like, I get a little bit of the hype in terms of, no, actually, no, I don't. Because you beat a team in the Las Vegas Raiders who have not been playing well all season. And some of you Cowboy fans, from what I've been seeing, have been like, oh, this is our chance. We're going to start beating the next few teams. Like, if anything, you have maybe a little bit of a chance against the Eagles, because they haven't been playing that well this season. In terms of seasons past anyway. not to say that you can't beat the Eagles, but I'm sorry. In America's game of the week, you guys are probably just gonna fall flat on your face. Like, I'm sorry, but as just one of those things that is, I can't even really think as to what exactly is going to be happening in this game, but it's not going to go in the Cowboys' favor. Just because you beat the Las Vegas Raiders last week does not mean you're going to be winning the next few games against tough opponents. Like, come on, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we doing? Like, I get it. You're hyped for your team. You haven't been having a good season in terms of the season as a whole. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna change anytime soon, but it's gonna be a tough go for the next few weeks because you got the Eagles and what is it? You got the Eagles and you got the Eagles this week. I mean, you're behind the Carolina Panthers. You're in the Eagles this week. You got the Chiefs the following week, and then you got the Lions. So you got 3 straight games in a row that are just going to be absolutely tough for you guys. And yet a lot of you Cowboy fans out there are like, oh, so much hype, all this other shit, stuff like that. Like, I mean, congratulations, you won. But, yikes. Like, you got a lot of ground to cover if you really think you guys actually have a chance of making playoffs, especially with only 4 wins to this point of the season. Like, come on now, Cowboys fans. Like, live in reality for a moment, shall we? Anyhow, moving on to another team that is we kind of discussed a little bit of this last week, and I don't think Mike McDaniel's job is, in terms of him potentially getting fired, is completely out of the books yet. Mainly because of the next few opponents that we'll be talking about here. Because the Dolphins have, after this bye week, they have the Saints and the Jets, and then they got a little bit of a tougher stretch to finish out the rest of the season in the Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, and Patriots. So if the Dolphins can't find a way to win against either of the Saints or the Jets, Mike McDaniel's job is going to be done. Like, he's going to be done. He's going to be gone if he can't win against the Saints or the Jets. That's just plain and simple. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. Like, I mean, these are teams that the Dolphins, with the rosters that they have, with the players that they have, Saints and Jets should not be a problem for them to beat. Especially with the way that the Jets have been playing all season and the Saints have been playing all season. Like, granted, Jets are an interdivision matchup. They'll be in New York when they play them. But with the kind of team that they have and the kind of setup that they have, it's just all roads lead in terms of who they're playing against for the next couple of weeks. All roads lead to that in terms of the Dolphins should be able to win. If not, I think Mike McDaniels is done. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. I mean, he's been a coach for the Dolphins for as long as, Brian Daboll had been a coach for the New York Giants, if not maybe a couple seasons longer. It's only been updated last week. It hasn't really been updated since then, it looks like. But yeah, it hasn't really been updated since. I mean, I would still be willing to bet you that he's still right there. It's just, yeah. I mean, not really a tough stretch for the Dolphins here, but I mean, outside of the Saints and the Jets, obviously the rest of the way is going to be tough, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I could be wrong, but, again, that's only if they don't find a way to win. If they find a way to win, obviously it's one of those things where they should have, they did what they needed to do in terms of winning a game. But anyhow, um, how much of this do I really agree with? I don't really know that I totally agree that Josh Allen should be up that high. Same with Patrick Mahomes. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, neither one of these players have been playing as well. Like, let me get some of the stats. Let me get some stats to back up what I'm talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, so yards, completion percentage. No. What? What? What are we doing here? Completion percentage, QBR rating. All right, so here we go. All right, so you got Drake May at the top with total yards in terms of completion, in terms of completed yards. Obviously, with those 4 interceptions last week, Darnold just kind of put himself a little bit lower than he probably should be. Obviously, in terms of completion percentage, Sam Darnold's up there as well, but I can't really talk about him that much because of the bad performance from last week. Dak Prescott is up there, but in terms of the way that his team has been playing, we can't really discuss that too much. I still don't understand how Daniel Jones is not up any higher than. I mean, I get it. He was off of a bye week, but I really think this weekend is going to really show who's going to be the higher candidate when it comes to MVP conversation, because you take a look at the stats right now between completion percentage, QBR rating, which honestly Mahomes' only stat line in terms of top 5 is QBR right now. Like, oh, sorry, 2 stats. But even still, like, their team has not been playing as well. I don't understand how Patrick Mahomes is as high as he is, even though their team is playing at a even Steven clip, if that makes sense. Like, they're 5-5 to this point. If anything, Daniel Jones at 8-2 should be placed higher than Patrick Mahomes, and I think that's going to show this weekend against the Chiefs. It's going to show this weekend, and this might be a hot take, but I think Daniel Jones, after this weekend, is going to be putting himself higher, if not in the number 1 spot, for the MVP conversation after this weekend. Guaranteed. Like, I don't know how else to put this. Just Patrick Mahomes also just has not been like what he's been accustomed to in the past. Do I think that he doesn't really deserve his flowers for where he's at in terms of the stat line and whatnot? Like, I don't think you're wrong. It's just one of those situations where just because you base it off of 2 stats in terms of yards and QBR, like, if your team's not playing well, like, there's a reason why I'm not talking too much about Dak Prescott here, and there's a reason why I'm not talking too much about, even Tyler Huntley, because he's only played a couple of games, number 1, but I'm not even really talking too much about Sam Darnold either, because, I mean, he had a very bad game against the Rams this last weekend. So it's one of those things where, in my book, I would still put Drake May at number 1 in the MVP conversation. Just because he's top 5 in literally every single stat line that you look at right now in terms of completion percentage, yards completed, and QBR rating. And his team, to this point, is 9-2. And yes, again, they're going to be playing the Bengals this weekend, but even still, I don't understand. Like, I would have Drake May at number 1 still in terms of the MVP conversation. It's probably crazy to say, but in any case, like, and I guess you get a little bit of kudos to Matt Stafford just because of the fact that he was able to beat a very hot Seattle Seahawks team coming into last weekend. So, giving them a little bit of a humble or a humility moment, if you will. there's something to be said there. But I mean, very key opportunity for Seattle to come into this next weekend, especially since it gets Tennessee to be like, all right, let's have a bounce back weekend. We can do this kind of deal. But even still, um, I don't know if I were to make a top five. I mean, in terms of quarterbacks just by themselves, I can't really say Justin Herbert, so that's number one. Um, but I would definitely put Drake May at number one. I would probably put Daniel Jones at number two. Um, let's see, Drake May at one, Daniel Jones at two. Well, this might seem to be a little bit controversial here, but I put Stafford at three. Maybe not. Eh. No, well, because he is a lot better in all the other stat lines, though. Or at least the other two, anyway. So, yeah, I put Stafford at three. And then probably, I don't know, either. I don't. I don't want to put the other two in terms of Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott up that high because their teams haven't been playing very well. I don't know, maybe Jared Goff or Josh Allen, maybe. Yeah, yeah. It'd probably go Drake May, Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford, then probably Jared Goff and Josh Allen after that. I would continue to just bump Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes, and Dak Prescott. I wouldn't even have them in the top five. I'd have them in top 10, but I wouldn't have either of Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott in the top five. They're with the way. I mean, granted, you look at their yards completed, and while that's fine and dandy, like, I mean, obviously, in I mean, looking at the touchdowns too for Prescott, he's up there. I mean, same with their um, he's up there in terms of touchdowns thrown and stuff like that. But I mean, just because you've thrown all the touchdowns in the world or whatever does not, you know, if your team isn't winning games, like that's. I mean, I feel like that's a key. That's a key factor for sure. Outside of get out of the screen, please. Thank you. Um, if your team isn't winning games and if your team is not performing well based off of the quarterback's performance, why would I put you in the top five? You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I'm not really talking too much. I mean, like I'm even not talking much about Justin Herbert here either, because he's got his yards to really show up, but I mean his completion percentage is not great. 16th in completion percentage. And his QBR rating, he's 14th. So, I mean, yes, his team has been winning games. His team is over 500 right now. And I believe the Chargers are on a bye this week. That's right. I think they only have like two or three. I think they have two or three losses to this point, I think. But anyhow, but even still, with the way that the teams have been playing, the way these quarterbacks have been playing, I think I would go Drake May at one, Daniel Jones at two, probably Matt Stafford at three, and then I'd probably go Jared Goff and then Josh Allen at 4 and 5. That's kind of how I would do that. Just because, or maybe the Lions haven't been playing as well as I thought that they have been. I mean, they're 6 and 4. No, I would go Allen and then Goff. Or Goff and then or Allen and then Darnold. Yeah, because maybe I'm talking a little too not how do I explain this? Maybe I'm talking a little too down on Seattle, because I mean Seattle still is 7 and 3, and comparing records to the Lions anyway. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Is that kind of an extreme setup there, ladies and gentlemen? Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can make a NFL QB. Let me see if I can. Do 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 do. Oh, there we go. Boom. Not the jersey. Where is the quarterback stuff that I was doing earlier? Not top 100. Is it not here? Safeties. Is this it right here? Oh, this is a different one, but it's still pretty good, I think. So, where? Okay, so Josh Allen can be in the conversation here. Bo Nix probably. Baker Mayfield probably. Who else was I talking about? Sam Darnold. Matt Stafford. Dak Prescott. Nope. And I would say average. Jared Goff, we can move up there as well. We'll put him as average. Where is Jordan Love? Okay. Patrick Mahomes. Where's Josh Allen? Oh no, he's right there. Okay. So, oh, who was I? Where's Daniel Jones? Where the heck is he? Is he in the Giants uniform still in this one? Is he this guy right here? Yeah, I think he's him right here. Unless he's in a different uniform. I might be missing him. Where is he? Yeah, that's Daniel Jones, isn't it? Okay, maybe that isn't him. Was it this guy? No. What am I doing here? Where is he? He's not photoed. He's not photoed in this tier. Unless that's him right there and I don't even know who that guy is. I don't know. Anyhow, well, let's just imagine Daniel Jones is in here at number 2, then Matt Stafford at 3. Where did I have 4 and 5? I think Josh Allen does move up, in my personal opinion. Josh Allen. And then, I don't know, you could probably make a case for Sam Darnold or Dak Prescott or Jared Goff, but I wouldn't really put anybody else in 5. But yeah, I can't really figure out where we'll just use this guy as Daniel Jones. I know for a fact that isn't, but anyhow, you guys are probably gonna have fun with that one. Oh boy. Anyhow, yeah, that's gonna be it for that. Alrighty. But yeah, I mean, once again, top 5 quarterbacks. You got Drake May, then Daniel Jones, then Matt Stafford. I would make a case probably Sam Darnold at 5. I mean, but I think 5 is so much of a toss up that there's really not. Um, I don't think there really is a true number 5 at quarterback right now. So I think in terms of the top 4, they really kind of separate themselves at being at number 4. I mean, obviously, I think you can make a really strong case for Sam Darnold and Jordan Love to kind of be in that category. Same with Jared Goff, but I mean, you can really only make a very small case for Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes outside of, um, I mean, outside of passing yards completed, you really don't have much of a case for. I mean, maybe for Dak Prescott, you have a little bit more of a case in terms of the rest of the stat line, in terms of completion percentage and QBR, but for me, just the way that their team as a whole has been playing based off of how well he's been playing, it's not even close. It's not a good case to be made for him at all. My personal opinion. Um, I could have sworn I've already looked up Daniel Jones a couple different times, and oh man. Anyhow, and then we're gonna take a quick look at what I think is gonna be the NBA MVP. Even though it's real early, obviously. Um, let's see. We got points, and then rebounds, and then assists, and then blocks. Because steals are probably going to be pretty good as well, but we'll see. Um, I mean, Nikola Jokic, and then Victor Wembanyama, Karl Anthony Towns. So, just by looking across the board here, I got pretty key contributors defensively there. Kel Bridges, OG Anunoby. So, I don't want to solely say. I mean, obviously, how do I want to put this? I think Shea, obviously at number 1, just because of the way the team's been playing. I mean, I know he hasn't been doing a ton of stuff with the rest of the stat line. I mean, he's 16th in assists, so that's not really a great look. But with the way that his team has been playing, because of his high point average rate, I would have to put Shea at number 1, probably. Yeah, I would say probably Doncic at 2, Maxey at 3. I would say probably Jokic at 4, and then you could really have a toss up between Austin Reeves and Giannis and Donovan Mitchell, I think, at 5 in terms of MVP. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but that's kind of how I would put that. I would put Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at 1, Luka Doncic at 2, Tyrese Maxey at 3. Yeah, I would put Austin Reeves at 4. Yeah, I put Austin Reeves at 4, and then so Shea Gilgeous at 1, Luka Doncic at 2, Tyrese Maxey at 3, Austin Reeves at 4, and then probably you can make a case for 5 being either Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, or Nikola Jokic at 5. I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of a little bit biased, but yeah, I think outside of that, I think that's gonna do it. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Once again, I really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. I know this seemed to be a little bit of a weirder show, I think, today, but anyhow, I hope you guys continue to enjoy or continue to enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week. Before we go, if you wouldn't mind if I want to send you guys off in a prayer real quick, that'd be awesome. Let me just kind of do something real quick before I do that. But anyhow, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, once again, I want to thank you for another great day, great afternoon, and would like to ask the blessing guide every single person that is watching, and want to ask for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary as we go throughout today and the rest of this week. Continue to bless and guide us through, and help our interactions to give all glory to you. As we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, really appreciate every single one of you guys for watching. That is going to do it, because I got to take off a little bit early. I know I am ending this a little bit early, but I do have to take off a little early today, just because I got some things I got to do for work a little sooner than I first start. So got to take care of those things, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Keep a lookout for the socials and whatnot, and if you guys like the content that I'm doing, don't hesitate to hit that like button, or head down to that comment section to hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss another live. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.